Ain't nobody doing that in a congregation. Welcome back to NoPro Worship. My name is David Wesley. In last week's video, we compared two traditional hymns to two modern arrangements of those same hymns. And what we saw was that the process of modernization actually added 40% to the vocal range required by the song. Now, this is pretty significant when you're talking about singing with a congregation. This week, we're going to talk about another issue in vocal range, and that is the phenomenon of octave jumping. This is something that's more specific to contemporary worship songwriting. So what is it? Well, octave jumping is when you take part of a song, whether it's a verse or a chorus or a bridge, and you repeat that same section only an octave higher later in the song, 8 notes higher. Now, when you jump the octave like this, you end up at the top of your vocal range and straining your voice. That means you're singing louder. And often this is accompanied by an increase in the volume of the drums and the other instruments. So what you get is a large dynamic contrast that creates excitement, it creates energy within a song. Now, this is great for radio, and it's amazing for concerts, especially when you can take your time and really build into that octave jump and really milk it for all it's worth. However, when you're talking about singing in a congregational context, doing octave jumps is a bit dangerous. At its best, it's problematic, and at its worst, it's just downright impossible. So I prepared a little bit of a montage just to show you some examples of octave jumpings in common worship songs so that we can have a little bit of basis of conversation when we're done.
Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. You are good when there's nothing good in me. You are more than my words will ever say. Love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord.
You are good. Ooh, you are good.
So where did it even start? I did a little bit of researching over the last couple of weeks, and one author points to 1987 as the birth of the octave jump. And 1987 is the release of Joshua Tree by rock supergroup U2. You have lead singer Bono singing a melody in the middle of his range and then just screaming out an octave higher. And if you're ever at one of their stadium shows, when he jumps that octave and the energy goes up, the crowd just goes insane. And since then, this technique has filtered out into modern rock music and into contemporary worship music, as you saw from the examples. Now, the first song that I can remember hearing of with an octave jump in it was Amazed by Jared Anderson, and this was released in 2004. So here I am in my rangefinder application, and I'll go to Amazed. Now, if you were to put Amazed with the octave jump into the key of A, which might be the most reasonable, you can see that it has quite a wide range, 1.6 octaves. So you can see that basically in every key here, there's lots and lots and lots of red. It's a very wide range for this song. And there's a significant amount of notes at the top and the bottom. And you can see from the pitch map here that when you go up the octave, you stay there for quite a while. You get that energy, but it's at the expense of fried vocal cords. Now, we can take a look at what happens when we remove the octave jump. All of a sudden, that chart is looking a lot more green, and the range of the song is actually less than an octave. You can see right there, and in the pitch graph, everything is nice and green. Another example is actually on the list of songs proposed to start doing at my church. And one of them is King of My Heart. And this is by John Mark McMillan, also known as the author of Sloppy Wet Kisses, aka How He Loves. I think we know how I feel about that song. Anyway, when you load this into my rangefinder application, you see that it has a whopping range of 2 whole octaves. Sounds amazing on the radio, sounds amazing in a concert, but ain't nobody doing that in a congregation. All right, you can see from the key chart here, even kind of in the best key, those lovely strain scores that I've developed are super high no matter what. There's really not a good key to do this for a congregation. Just look at the wide range on that, and you do actually spend a fair amount of time at the top of that range. It's just screaming right through there when you jump that octave. Now, if we were to take that away, without the octave jump, you can see that all of a sudden the range goes down to 1.3 octaves, which is still significant there. And in the key of D, it's actually pretty manageable. It goes from a low A to a high C sharp, and it doesn't spend too much time at the top or the bottom. Right, so that's just 2 examples of songs that octave jump. So if you have a song that you like and it has an octave jump in it, and you are concerned about your congregation and how friendly it'll be, what exactly can you do? Well, one option is to just not do the song. As we discussed in the video on managing your church's song repertoire, there is basically an unlimited number of songs you can choose from. Odds are you might be able to find a song with a similar theme or a similar feel or a similar melody that doesn't have this kind of octave jump that would be easier for a congregation to sing. So number 1 is just don't do it. Number 2 is you might actually be able to remove the octave jump. This isn't the best solution, but it's not bad. When you remove that octave jump, basically you are taking away some of that energy that you're getting by jumping up high, and you lose a bit of dynamic contrast. So you have to develop that contrast in different ways, whether it's just straight volume, adding and subtracting different instruments from your arrangement. One of the problems of removing an octave jump is that depending on how the melody is shaped, you might actually have the chorus dropping in pitch below the verse. So the chorus that is often kind of the highlight of the song, has the most energy, is all of a sudden robbed of that energy. So certain songs you can get rid of the octave jump, especially if it's just in a bridge or a verse, but when it's the chorus that can be low and then you're missing that high jump, a lot of the energy can be gone. Alternatively, let's just say that you are dead set on using this song with the octave jump. You've analyzed the benefits and the risks, the many, many, many risks, and you decided that the benefits come out on top, so you're gonna do it. You have to ask yourself personally, as a worship leader, do you have the vocal range and power to perform this song well, to provide the confidence needed for your congregation to follow you? And do you have the vocal stamina to sing this song at a weeknight practice, at a Sunday morning sound check, possibly multiple services? Or is your voice going to give out? And don't forget the other demands on your vocal cords throughout the week, whether it's at your job, yelling at your kids. You have to think about all the things that can happen to your voice in that time. So let's just say that you recognize that you're not the person to lead the song. You don't have the power or the range. Perhaps there is somebody on your team that does, and they can lead the song. But as a last-ditch resort, you could divide up leadership of the song and have one person sing in the lower register where their power range is, and another person sing in the higher register where their power range is. But the thing is, the average person in the congregation isn't going to be able to swap off like that. They're going to be stuck either trying to follow you in the octave jump, or staying in the lower register, or just being confused and stop singing completely. Yeah, so octave jumping, a modern worship phenomenon. Can I rant now? Because in case you haven't figured it out, I hate octave jumping in worship songs. I can't even tell you how much I hate them. I think it's lazy songwriting. Oh, let's do the same part of the song an octave higher. We'll get energy. It'll be great. Oh, what's that? People can't sing it? Oh, it's too bad. They can just become spectators. I think it's irresponsible, it's inconsiderate of the people of God when worship leaders try to sing songs like this, and they should have the knowledge that the average person simply cannot sing them. They don't have the vocal range, and they shouldn't be expected to do the mental gymnastics required to follow a leader who does have the vocal range to do it. And you know what? I do like listening to these songs. In fact, some of these songs are the ones that are stuck in my head that I'm singing along at home. And you know what? I can sing them. I have a wide vocal range, but I am not going to put a congregation through that. I'm not going to drag them through the mud at the bottom of their vocal ranges and make them scream up where there's no oxygen in the upper registers. I just think it's a bad thing to do. Rant completed. So, I make these NoPro worship videos because I believe that the church deserves leaders that grow, and that includes worship leaders growing in their knowledge of the different ways that they can impact a congregation's experience of God through worship. Your musical decisions, in addition to your spiritual preparation, can make a big difference in how people encounter God from week to week. You've been placed in a position of leadership, and it's important that you steward that opportunity well. These videos are made possible by my patrons on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting them, you can go to patreon.com/DavidWesley. And I will see you next Friday.